Hello friends. So today in this video I am going to demonstrate you how can you use Firebase authentication and Firebase real-time database in your Android application. So I hope you are pretty familiar with the basics of Android application development. Um, Anyhow, I will try to explain things that I think would be like difficult for you to understand in an easy way. So let's get started by creating a new Android Studio project. I have already opened Android Studio and I'll click on new project to create a new project, and I'll use empty activity template for my project. I'll click on next. I'll name it as Firebase app, and in this app we will be using Firebase authentication to authenticate a user via email address and Firebase real-time database to store the information of that user. Later on, we will create a user profile screen where he can update his profile, and we can also create a screen for admin as well, where admin can see all the users that have registered to this project or to this app, and he can also search users by their name, by their email address, and things like that. So let's come back. So I'll name it as Firebase app. I'll keep this as package name, and I'll keep this location as it is. You may change it as well. You can change this as well. You can change the name as well. I'll be using Kotlin for this project, and it's okay to use Marshmallow 6.0. So I'll click on finish, and let's wait for the Gradle to successfully build. So Gradle built successfully, so we can do changes in our app. So we have basically our main activity and its layout file. So let me rename it to let's keep it as dashboard activity. Okay, you can keep it as it is, no worries. I'll change the name of resource file as well. Okay, so I'll refactor it. Sorry. Okay, so I'll remove this text view from here, or let's just keep it. We will be naming it like name. And we will add 2 more activities. So we'll name this activity as login activity. Finish. Okay. Okay, so our login activity has been included. Let's create another activity. We'll name that activity as registration activity. So name it as okay. So click on finish, and it will create another activity for us named registration activity. Okay, now we have our three basic activities. First one is dashboard, second is login, and third is registration activity. Okay, so I'll click on tools and Firebase. Since we are using Firebase in our project, so let's add its dependencies. We can use Firebase Assistant for that as well. So I'll be using Firebase Assistant. Let's click on authentication and add simple authentication in our custom authentication. Okay, so I'll select this one. I'll connect to Firebase first. Okay, so let's wait for the build to finish. Okay, so Gradle will finished, and I'll click on connect to Firebase, and it will be opening web portal. Okay, so The project. Okay, so we will be creating a new project. For that, I'll click on add project, and our app name is here, Firebase app. We'll click on continue.
What we do here is go
Continue, and okay, so let's keep it as default account for Firebase. Okay, and we will create project, and it will take a few seconds. Okay, so let's wait for it. Okay, our project is ready. Click on continue, and here we go. It will create a project for us on Firebase console that will be used for various purposes like authentication, real-time database. Let's click on connect so that our app can be connected. Okay, so your Android Studio project is connected to your Firebase Android app. Good. So let's back to Android Studio. So our first step is done. Let's add Firebase Authentication SDK to our app. So click on apply changes. After clicking on add the Firebase Authentication SDK. So if you follow along with this documentation, it will really help you out. Will guide you step by step about the necessary code that is required to implement Firebase authentication. Okay, let the Gradle build successfully. Okay, so our second step is also done. Now we have to do the code to use Firebase authentication, etc. So first of all, we will create the layout for login and registration activity. Then we will come back to it. So let's go to login activity. So we will be using view binding to make our working a bit easy. So you have to add this build features view binding is equal to true in your project. You have to go to Gradle scripts and build.gradle file, and inside this Android, at the very bottom, you can add this and click on sync now and let it be completed. Okay, so this will enable the view binding in our project. So let's go back to your login activity. So we will be creating a binding variable. Okay, so an easy way to get the reference of the binding variable is you have to look at the name of the layout file. Since the name of our layout file is activity underscore login, so I'll type activity login, and it will pop up in the IntelliSense the name of the binding variable. So we'll use this name, and here binding equals to activity login binding dot inflate and get layout inflator, and inside set content view we will be passing binding dot get root dot root. Actually, I'm pretty used to work in Java, and that's why I remember the syntax of Java. So we will be using binding.root here, and let's go to our layout file, and let's add two text views for email and password. So just drag and drop. Okay, so we'll align them horizontally. we will be keeping ATP margin from the above, and let's make it match constraint and add layout margin of like 16 dp. You can design it the any way you want. So to keep it simple, let's add few more things here. Let's email address factor, and that's our password. Okay, so let's add hint to them. Mail. Okay, so let's create or add a button as well. Okay, so DP would be fine. Login. Keep it as match constraint. And okay, so let's change the ID of this button to login button. Okay, so now we can get reference of these variables. So we will be getting the reference of all the layout components by using this binding variable. So type binding dot, and we will be getting these these three components. We have email address there, login, and password. So what we will do is we will be using login button dot set on click listener, and here we will be using. Okay, so we will create a variable email equals to binding dot email address dot text, and we'll be converting it to string, and same way we will be getting password. So binding dot password dot text dot to string. Okay, so now we will be checking for them if they are not empty or email dot is empty. What we will be doing, binding, we will be displaying an error message to it, set error, and we will be saying email required. Okay, and we will also do binding dot request email address dot request focus. Okay, that will pretty do it. And then we will be checking for password dot is empty, then do the same to it. Okay, so change it to password. Okay, so if both are not empty, then what we'll be doing, we will be login our user. Okay, so let's go back to our layout file. So let's do some UI changes as well. We'll change its background to so it doesn't failed to be changed. Okay, so go back to we'll go to our registration activity, and we will do the same, add components to it. Let's just copy this one to save a few minutes of our time. So what we have here, the same. Let's change it to Okay, so we can also do changes in the layout file. So I'll do it as register button, and we will add another input field here. I will give its ID as name, and the input type should be text. Okay, so let's see what we have here. Okay, so since we have constraint layout and constraints are applied on it, so let me clear all constraints first, and then I'll drag it a bit above the email edit text, and then I'll apply binding on it. Okay, and what I'll do is keep the margin 8 dp. So let me zoom it a bit for clarity. So this is our username field, so let's change the hint to name. Okay, and text of this login button to register. Okay, and let's keep it to send horizontally. Okay, this seems pretty fine, I guess. And let's do the same on login screen. Let's center it. Okay, perfect. So let's go to the registration activity backend file. Let's apply view binding here as well. So what we will be doing: private late init binding, and I have told you about how to get the name of the binding variable. So this will tell us about the binding variable's name. So we will type activity registration binding. Okay, so here we have to do is binding equals to activity registration binding dot inflate and get layout inflator. And what we will be doing here is binding dot root. Okay, so let's do the registration activity code as well. I'll just copy this one again, it there, and paste it here. Here we have registration button, and what's wrong with, okay, so let me change to the previous one, that latent where. Okay, so we also have a third variable here named as name equals to binding dot name dot text dot to string. Let's remove it. Okay, so we will check for name first. If name dot is empty, then display a message that name required. Name. Okay, so it will check for name, email, and password fields, and after that we will register our user. Okay, so UI and basic authentication is done. Now the main code is left. So first of all, we will be doing code for registering user. So before doing that, we have to, okay, so let me open the assistant, and I'll teach you from this assistant so that you can get familiar with the documentation. Okay, so we did completed our first step, second step, and in our third step we have to create these variables, Firebase authentication variables. So the documentation is in Java. We will be using Kotlin for that. So I'll use private latent where and I'll name it as I'll keep the name same. This is of Firebase auth, and right after our set content view, we will be assigning that mauth variable to Firebase auth dot get instance. Okay, so this will create an instance of Firebase auth and assign it to mauth, and now we will be using this mauth variable to access its predefined methods like we have here: sign in with email, link, and few others. So we will be using this one: sign in user, sign up user. So what have they given the name? Sign in with this. This is for sign in, and for register they have another method. I guess they have okay, so create user with email and password. And what we have to do is we have to pass here the username, user email and password. We will add on complete listener here like that, and if it dot is successful, then it will be showing a toast message. Okay, comma toast dot short dot show. Okay, so in case if it is not successful, is cancelled, you can specify it like that, or we can keep it simple and say else. Then we'll be showing a toast message regarding the error. User registration, user register failed G2, and we'll be showing, okay, we can use this as well, it dot exception. Okay, so it will display the exception message. We'll keep its length as too long so that we can actually see the log message. Okay, so apart from showing the toast, we will be redirecting our user to dashboard activity. So in order to do that, we will be typing start activity, intent, and registration activity, java.class, and this comma, and where we want to go, we want to go to dashboard activity colon class.java. Okay, so this would be enough. Okay. And let's finish this one. Okay, so this is it for user registration, and we will be doing login activity. This code as login code. So let's do the same. Create Firebase authentication object. So we will be declaring it here and initializing it right after set content view. Okay, and now we will be using it mauth dot. So now we use sign in with email and password method. So we will be passing user email comma password, and we will be adding add on complete listener, and we'll do the same here as well. Okay, so let me align it. Okay, so if task is successful, user logged login successful, and in case of any error or exception, user login failed due to this. Okay, so in case if users logged in successfully, we will be redirecting it to dashboard activity. Okay, so that's enough for like registration and login. We have some other tweaks, like let's say if user is already logged in, what we will be doing. So first of all, we will be checking for, we will create Firebase auth object here as well. So let me to make it quick. Okay, paste it here. Okay, so let's create a binding variable as well, private latent where binding, sorry, activity dashboard binding, binding equals to activity dashboard binding dot bind dot inflate, actually dot inflator, and binding dot root here. We'll also initialize the mauth variable to Firebase auth dot get instance. Okay, so we will be using on start method, and we will be checking for the user if it's null or not. Let's copy the code from the assistant. So what we have here is, okay, we will be using this code, so I'll copy it and paste it here. And since we are using Kotlin, so Android Studio provides us this feature of converting this Kotlin Java code to Kotlin if we paste any Java code to Kotlin file. So I'll click on it, yes, since I want to convert it to Kotlin. So click on yes, and it will convert the code to Kotlin. Okay, so on inside on start, it is getting the current user from this mauth variable, and it is asking for us to update UI. Let's create this method. Okay, so what we will be doing here is we will be checking for this current user. If current user is equals to null, then what we will do, we will finish this activity and redirect user to login activity. So let's do this, and since we are redirecting him to login activity, so we will be typing, so this will do it. Let's do the same. Okay, so this is for if user is null, current user is null, it will ask him to go to login activity, and inside login activity, if user is not equal to null and somehow he came to this activity, we will be redirecting him to dashboard. Okay, and same here. Okay, so if user is not null, take him to dashboard, else keep it here. Okay, so I guess that's it. Let's review the code. Okay, so we have three activities: dashboard activity, login, and registration. Inside our dashboard activity, we have just checked if user is um, null, then move it to login activity. Inside our login activity, we have these two input fields and login button, and we are validating the input fields data. If it is not empty, we can add further validation to it, like if email address is valid email address or not, password length as well, but we will discuss them later. So to keep it simple, just we are checking for empty fields, and if they are not empty, we will be using Firebase authentications method, like the default method, sign in with email and password, and we will be passing email and password to it, and we are checking if it is successful, then we will be redirecting user to dashboard activity, otherwise we will be showing him the error. Same for the registration activity. Here we have three fields. We are checking for their validation, and if it all okay, then we will be creating a new user with email and password, and if it is successful, we will be redirecting him to dashboard activity, otherwise we will be showing him an error. And same here, if user is not equal to null and he has gone to this, he came to this activity, redirect him to the dashboard activity. Okay, so you must be wondering where we have used this variable. We will be discussing this in next video, where we will be where we will be storing this whole data to real-time database. Okay, so for now let's run the app and test if the functionality works or not. So I have the emulator. I'll click on this run app button. You can also press shift F10 to as a shortcut to run this app. So let's wait for the Gradle build to finish. Emulator is up and Gradle build is still running. Let's wait for it to get completed. Gradle build finished, and it is installing the app on the emulator. Okay, so one thing to keep in mind, we have, since we are using email authentication, so let me open the project here. Okay, so we have to check for check if we have enabled email authentication or not. So we will click on our Firebase app project, and since we are using authentication, email authentication, so we have to check for sign in method. So since we are using email and password for that, so I'll click on email password and we have to enable it. Remember, you have to go to authentication, sign in method, and click email and password, and you have to enable it and then click on save. Then it will allow us to use this feature. So if I'll go to users, currently I don't have any users, and let's see if app launched successfully. The Gradle to build successfully, and if we'll go to console, we don't have any user here yet, and so let's go to, okay, so we haven't given any reference to go to registration activity. Let's add it. I forgot to add it. Let's add another button here. Copy this one, paste it here, name it as, go to registration screen. User. Okay, and let's go to the login activity file, and let's minimize this, and let's just type binding dot, go to registration screen, click on set on click listener, and let's type start activity, and we will be moving it from this to registration activity colon Java class.java. Sorry. Okay, so start activity and do okay. Then okay. So if I'll click on this, it will redirect me to the registration activity. I'll rerun the app again. Okay. So Gradle built successfully, and we have this button. Click on register now, and it will take us to registration screen. I think binding is not constraints are not applied here. Okay, click on insert constraint. It will apply constraints to this layout. Let's rerun the app. Okay, so okay, so since we haven't used this field anywhere, let's just type. Okay, so I'll type my email address here, and I'll type my password as well. Okay, I'll click on register, and user registered successfully, and it has redirected us to dashboard activity. And inside dashboard activity, let's just add filing.username.detect, and we'll type welcome. Verifying amount.get current user dot email address. Okay, so it will display the email of current user that is logged in, and we also have to add logout button in our dashboard activity. So for now, let's add a simple button here. Out. And let's also add logout button code. So we have Firebase auth instance. So what we'll be doing, we will opt to sign out. Okay, so apart from that, we will also update the user dot current user. So what it will be doing is it will check the current user. If it is null, it will redirect it to login activity. So let's test the app, run it again. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so since we have already added the code in our login file, if user is not equal to null, it will take it with him to dashboard activity. So here we have been taken to dashboard activity. Welcome, m.adnankumar@gmail.com. If I'll click on logout button, it will take him to login screen. Let's log in again. Okay, so I'll type my password as well, and I'm writing incorrect password, and let's see what happens. I click on login and it will say failed due to the password, or user does not have this password. So I'll type the correct password and click on login again, and it will successfully log in. Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. See you in the next video.